Hey everybody, welcome back to the weekly Weed Watch. This week I want to stick with the perennials and continue talking about some perennial weeds that we deal with. The summer annuals are coming up here in Kentucky. The ones that have come up in the last couple weeks, most of them are still cotyledon to one leaf stage, and we'll have plenty of time to get to those. But what I want to stick with this week is talking about a perennial that I've seen coming up in several cornfields, no-till cornfields here in Kentucky, especially the early planted ones. And it's a perennial that does cause us issues within corn. So let's go check it out. Okay, everybody. So, like I said, there are several summer annuals starting to come up. You can see several of those coming up with our corn, including some giant ragweed there. So those are coming up. But what I want to focus in on today is a perennial, and the perennial I want to focus in on today is this right here, and that is Johnsongrass. Okay, so as I said, I've been witnessing this or observing this come up the last couple of weeks, and what we have here is Johnsongrass that's coming up from some rhizomes. I'll show you some of those here in a bit. But when it comes up from rhizomes like this, it does get fairly large fairly quickly. Before we get too far into that, just some quick ID. Usually we can pick Johnsongrass out pretty quickly. It just, again, much larger than many other weeds out here, but the big wide leaves, a predominant or thick midrib, and then if you look at the ligules, you're going to have a membranous ligule, which is jagged at the top and fairly large, a large predominant ligule there. About the only other species that's going to look similar to this would be shattercane, but shattercane is going to be an annual, whereas Johnsongrass is a perennial. So how do you tell if it's a perennial? Well, you can see here I did some digging, and I dug up pretty quick several of these rhizomes here. Okay, so what the rhizome is, and here's another one here. What the rhizome is it's a fleshy vegetative structure that grows underground, and from that structure you're going to have new shoots coming up. Okay, so you can see there several shoots that are already established and out of the ground, as well as a couple that are coming still. So with that, that rhizome network spreads and puts up new shoots around it, and it makes controlling these types of weeds very difficult. And so as we look out here, you can see there's several patches of Johnsongrass, and again, that's just where it's coming up from that rhizome network. So it makes things very difficult. Also does reproduce by seed as well, so if you let it go to seed, we will get Johnsongrass to come up from seed. So two different ways of reproducing, which makes it that much more difficult to control as a weed. Now, as far as control goes, in corn specifically, residual herbicides don't have a lot of effect on it, probably because if it is established from rhizomes, those residual herbicides are not going to have a lot of, they're not going to be effective. If it's coming up from seed, there are a few residuals that help us, but still not very much. So for the most part, we're going to have to deal with or rely on post-emergence herbicides, and then corn, for the most part, we're relying on glyphosate pretty heavily for control of our Johnsongrass in our corn. If we don't have a glyphosate available to us, because we're not growing a Roundup Ready corn, there's pretty much to go to is a nicosulfuron based product, and that has to go on some fairly small Johnsongrass to get us really effective control. Now, if you have rhizome established Johnsongrass that a really bad infestation, the best timing for us is if we can spray it in the fall. Obviously, we still have to control it during the summertime, but if we can also control it in the fall or get an application on it in the fall, that'll help us get some control of that rhizome network with that fall application. So again, a weed that's just not a whole lot of fun to deal with. It really competes very well, and then being a perennial with a big rhizome network really makes it problematic. So that is our weekly weed. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and looking forward to seeing you guys next week.